Our very special guest for this segment is Eric Draper. Eric was the chief photographer for the George W. Bush White House for 8 years, both terms of W's presidency. His new book is called Front Row Seat, just released. And Eric, we are delighted to have you on the Morning Brew. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your experience while working for George W. Bush.
Well, I spent 8 years as the White House photographer, the chief White House photographer, and it was an amazing experience. You know, from day one, following the president around, and my job was to be the visual historian for the administration. Mm-hmm. So that meant photographing every meeting, photographing all the events, all the travel. And of course, all the historic events and all the unplanned events was my favorite part of the job, was waiting for the surprises.
Yeah.
For those surprises. Now, it's important for everybody to know that you live in the community, you and your wife and your dogs out in Rio Rancho.
That's right.
Making this your home.
That's right.
And now you're running a commercial and editorial photography business. I don't know how you've been to the top of Mount Everest with your work now. How do you follow that up?
Well, you know, it's just nice to kind of settle down and have a normal schedule, yeah, and get some sleep now and then.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
So what was it like, your first day on the job?
Well, my previous job as a staff photographer with the Associated Press, I was a member of the media. And coming into this job, being the personal photographer and being a White House staffer, mm-hmm, there was definitely a transition. So I had a lot of questions and a lot to learn, the inner workings of following the president around. For example, you know, having complete access to his schedule, and I always felt like, you know, someone's going to tap me on the shoulder because I didn't have anyone like standing in my way.
Right.
And a lot of it was the relationship between the president and I, and it was all about his comfort level, about my presence, because he really called the shots. It was his decision about my presence and when I should be there.
Mm-hmm.
So let's run through some photographs from Front Row Seat, and these are very historical because if you think about the Bush years, a lot of things went on, a lot of world leaders, 9/11, and we're going to see a lot of these now. And if you would take us through this little bit of history here that you were eyewitness to and that we got to see through your camera lens.
Sure.
Let's look at this first image, and you say this is your favorite photo in the book.
Mm-hmm. It's my favorite because this shows the president as a Texan. It shows his personal side. Mm-hmm. I really like the expression on his face, the personality, and then it's iconic. It's more of like a portrait with the cowboy hat. And in that picture, you can see he's driving his truck, yeah, on the ranch. And it's the only place where he can drive a truck because the president doesn't normally drive.
Not supposed to.
And the president had plenty of room, you know, 1,600-acre ranch. And what you can't see in the image also is his dog Barney is on his lap. Oh. So he's really happy. And then the timing of that picture is really interesting too, because this was in July, you know, over a month before 9/11, so there was definitely some innocence to that image to me. Mm-hmm. when I look back on it.
Yeah, that's very early in his first term.
Right.
And he escaped to Texas, and you got in the back seat, it looks like, and took an over-the-shoulder shot.
Yeah, I would ride in the truck a lot because he would love to give tours for visitors, from friends and family to world leaders, and it was his way of sharing his life. It was his way of actually connecting on a personal level to anyone he would give a tour to, you know, including world leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at the next image.
This is a picture made inside Buckingham Palace. The President and Mrs. Bush were guests of the Queen, and this evening they were actually going to a black tie dinner. And this is like the first night in Buckingham Palace, and the President and Mrs. Bush are actually running around like kids, like they really enjoyed themselves. And they're asking me, "Oh, Eric, come take our picture over here." And so they're really kind of playing around for me for the camera. But it kind of shows their personal side, and that they really like to have fun.
Yeah. What was that like? Just you were following them around the whole time. I'm sure you have a lot of great stories of working with them.
Yeah, I mean, it was surreal a lot of times because I did have so much access. You know, I saw the personal side. I saw the official side, and through the years, I was able to create a body of work that showed not only the president as commander-in-chief, but as a husband, as a father, as a dog owner. And it was really, for a photojournalist with my background, it was, a dream come true. It was really a dream job.
This is a funny picture.
Here's the president on a bike in the White House.
Yeah, I talk about those surprise moments, and this was definitely a day that I'll never forget. This was following a meeting with the president of Singapore, who every leader would come into the Oval Office and present the president with a gift. And on this day, the president of Singapore left a fold-up bike for the president. And the president was an avid biker, and I think the president of Singapore thought this would be a great gift. So after the meeting, everyone disappears. The Oval Office is empty. The president decides to pull it out.
And go for a ride.
Go for a little spin. So he decided to go for a spin through the hallway in the West Wing, and he actually rode into the vice president's office. And I never forget the vice president's secretary sitting there on the phone with her head down the entire time. Never looked up.
Being very serious.
It's so funny.
It's early in the term. 9/11 happens, and we're going to see a series of photos now that reflect that very tragic time. And these are just iconic photos as you look at these. Let's look at the first one here.
Yeah, this image was actually a few days after 9/11. This is the end of the day on September 14th. And this day was a very long emotional roller coaster. The day started out in Washington, D.C. with a prayer service at the National Cathedral. The president traveled to Ground Zero. The president met with firefighters at Ground Zero, which followed by the bullhorn moment from the rubble.
And we're seeing that now. Here's the bullhorn moment.
Right, and that's when the president spoke, and it was like, literally felt like we're standing on a raw nerve. You can really feel the emotion from the firefighters. They were tired, they were frustrated. You can feel that they were seeking leadership, and the president stepped up, at the right moment, the right time, and said the right words. It was really an amazing experience to
That was quite
watch.
a time. And you got real close there for that photograph, and it brings back memories.
Yeah.
It does, and I'll tell you a quick story. That bullhorn moment, being at the White House for 8 years, I was able to watch stories come full circle. So the firefighter that prompted those words, the famous line, the firefighter screaming in the background, "I can't hear you."
Yeah.
And the president said, "I can hear you, and the people who knock these buildings down will hear from all of us." Well, that firefighter, the president met 4 years later at a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. And the firefighter, and actually I identified the firefighter in the crowd, and I got him backstage to meet the president. It was a very emotional meeting that both men were crying together.
Oh.
The president, the firefighter told the president, my son's going to West Point. Mr. President, you changed my life. And the president stopped him and said, "No, you changed my life." And it was really kind of a neat moment to see a story like that come full circle.
And you were able to capture all these moments. It's awesome.
Let's look at another image here while we have a moment. Let's take a look at the next one. Here he is wearing kind of like is that a boxer's robe?
That's
Looks
right.
like it.
That is the real silk boxer's robe, which another gift that I would really have to find out who sent that gift to the president. But one morning, this is like 7 in the morning, the president was an early riser, so he was always in the Oval Office early, and no one was around but me. So the president opens the box, and there's a boxing robe, and of course he tries it on, and he's looking around for someone to show it to.
He seemed like a pretty funny guy.
Hey, come and see this.
Yeah, he had a great sense of humor. He never really took himself too seriously. He took the job very seriously. He always lightened the mood at the right time. He was always primarily the most positive person in the room, even during the darkest moments. And I never forget that part about his personality.
Let's take a look at another photo from front row seat. And here's Vice President Cheney and President Bush synchronizing watches.
Yeah, I call this photo "Timing is Everything." And that was a lucky moment, a fraction of a second. They're both looking at their watches, and luckily no one was blocking the picture, because this moment was the first week of the administration, and we're about to leave for a trip to the State Department because Secretary of State Colin Powell was about to be sworn in. What I like about this picture is it's a great illustration because the president was timely. Like, he started his meetings on time or early. He kept his schedule on time, and he was really frustrated if his schedule was falling behind. He felt that keeping people waiting is rude, and he really kept the staff on their toes.